going to start our study of the Spirit's book with the message of Living and Loving by Joana de Angelis. The company of love. If you love, you are never alone. Love and knowledge are treasures. The more you share, the more you have. Nobody who loves or teaches suffers from want. Love is like a crystal mirror. It reflects both lover and life. Love is responsive, and you are the first one to benefit each time you send out a vibration of love. As far as love is concerned, you must give in order to receive. Love is our most precious investment. It pacifies and ensures joy and peace. Love does not complain, does not impose. It is patient and promising. Love is freedom. It allows us to choose how we prefer to work out our spiritual evolution. If we choose suffering as a tool of learning and submit ourselves to the natural laws of life, our attitude may encourage others to do likewise and start their own ascent. Never be afraid of loving it. If petty obstacles threaten to restrain your resolution, brush them aside and move on. Say a gentle word to someone. Show your sympathy to those around you. Cooperate with some uplifting activity. Encourage those who are working on a noble task. Let the life within you flow outwards. Be nice to everyone. To love is good for you. However, do not expect your friends to share your suffering and pains. All our troubles bear an undeniable personal character. Even your best friend will be unable to discharge your personal responsibilities for you. A perfectly painted flame will not flicker, but a tiny spark can start a fire. Up the cross, Jesus had the company of two thieves, but the three of them experienced different individual emotions. Gand was surrounded by crowd when a gun was fired at him, but he alone was hit. The poison given to Socrates could have killed anyone else. However, he drank it alone. The stigmata that marked the body of Saint Francis of Assisi raised a great commotion, but he suffered them in solitude. Spiritual ascent is alone, strictly personal progress. Many people bear an invisible cross of intimate suffering, regardless of the sympathy of friends or supporters.
Dear God, we thank you for the opportunity to be here one more time, together for the study of the Spirit's book. May we take this opportunity to learn, to study, to participate, to share our thoughts, and to have an open mind and heart to change our behavior and to make better choices. So be it.
Welcome all of us here today as we carry on with our studies of the Spirit's book, where we are all students ourselves and all of those in the Spirit who are also with us here as children of God, as we all are, granted the possibility for us to carry on learning about ourselves, about the immortality of the soul, about the love from God that is given to all of us, and also the blessings of the enlightened spirits who are here with us, helping us, inspiring us. And united in thoughts with our hearts, we carry on our study today. We are on the conclusion of the Spirit's book on the subtitle, the conclusion, item 7, which is the teachings of St. Augustine. and we carry on item 7, where we finished last week. We just go through and read this first slide for us to situate ourselves where we stopped last week, and then we carry on. St. Augustine, in the conclusion of the Spirit's book on sub-item 7 says, hence, there are 3 classes or 3 degrees of its adherents. First, those who believe in the manifestations and limit themselves to proving them. It is for them a science of experimentation. Second, those who comprehend its moral consequences. Third, those who practice or endeavor to practice its morality. Whatever may be the scientific or moral point of view from which these strange phenomena are regarded, everyone perceives that they represent a new order of ideas. Those consequences will promote a profound modification for the better in the state of humankind. How could we reframe that with our own words? We finished last week just for us to accommodate ourselves. What is this slide about? There are 3 aspects, aren't there?
Yes.
So 3 degrees of adherents, or 3 degrees of learners or followers of Spiritism, isn't it? So the first one are those who believe in the manifestations. We saw last week are those who are more on the phenomenological level, isn't it? And then there are the other ones, as I said in the second one, those who comprehend its moral consequences. Whose are those? If you would say it in a different way.
I would say the ones that are studying the codification.
Let's say those who are more into the philosophical aspects,
Yes.
As they say the second, those who comprehend its moral consequences. They study about the philosophy of Spiritism, they may comprehend also the scientific aspect of Spiritism, but there is lacking one aspect, which comes now for the third group, those who practice or endeavor to practice its morality. Is that making sense? Yeah? And then whatever may be the scientific or moral point of view from which those strange phenomena are regarded, one perceives that they represent a new order of ideas. Which new order of ideas is that? Or are those?
We are immortal spirit.
Okay, we are
on
on.
the body.
Say it again. We are immortal spirits. And we are, as incarnates, we are in the physical body, while others may be here with us without the physical body, but also being immortal beings created by God with love as much as we also. What else?
I think the idea that also we can evolve, and that not we're born like that and we're going to be like that forever. We can make changes. Even if it's a small change, or even if we think we are old, we can still make change, and it's not an excuse to
Control.
Yeah,
Because we know that we are not a physical body, we are immortal beings, and therefore we are reminding by the spiritual benefactors that as immortal beings in the stage of evolution where we are all children. So therefore, in any epoch, in any stage, we can always learn something new. We can act. We still are babies, yes? What other order of ideas that we bring? Would I be right in saying that we learn that we are all being immortal beings created by God, simple and ignorant, and essentially we are all beings of goodness? Yes, we bring that seed of goodness, of love within. Yes, we all bring the natural ability to modify ourselves, to act ourselves, to change ourselves, so that concept of I'm too old and nothing will change, that doesn't fit in anymore, because we are moldable minds and hearts, beings. Therefore, we can always improve on that. That in mind, let's move on to the next slide. Also, the words from St. Augustine, which is helping us here to carry on our reflections. Andrea, would you like to read it?
As for our adversaries, we may also group them into 3 categories. In the first are those who systematically, then ever see new or unseen that does not process from their own minds and who address the issue without knowing its cause. To this class belong all those who admit nothing beyond the testimony of the sense. They have to see nothing and they want to see nothing, ever less
to delve into anything. Yeah. Okay, let's go through gradually. Then it's easier for us to develop our thinking. Okay, St. Augustine says, as for our adversaries, we may also group them into 3 categories. How do we understand that first phrase?
People who doesn't like the Spiritism or try to
go against it?
Yes. Not just go against it, but to try to disappear.
Adversaries are those who don't believe in the same way and also try to disturb it. Yeah. Can we imagine now? This book was written in 160 around there, so it's quite a long time. It's still these days they are, but here was St. Augustine telling us in terms of the adversaries, we can categorize them in 3 groups. In the first are those who systematically deny everything new or anything that does not proceed from their own minds. How do we understand that? Who he qualified as the first. How do we understand it? Systematically deny everything new. What does St. Augustine mean here when he says systematically deny everything new? What is he meaning here by new?
I would say people who are resistant to anything.
Okay.
Or ideas or anything that need to change their minds, they deny. So not only on religion or philosophical way, but in science, in anything.
I think he is in relation to the adversities of Spiritism. And then we can at least try, deny everything new. New, what is Spiritism bringing as new?
As we said before, new ideas.
The law of reincarnation, yes. The immortality of the soul, the law of cause and effect, which we can, and probably we also did in the past deny, we didn't want to listen to it. Yeah, that we are all also new way is that we are all brothers and sisters in humanity, despite of the difference on our culture, background, family, or whatever. We are all brothers and sisters, children of God, therefore invited to develop the universal fraternity. Any other idea?
That we are spirits.
That we are immortal. Okay.
They think we will go back to nothing.
Good. So they believe that death is the end of everything. There's nothing else beyond. And Spiritism brings the reality, helping us to awake towards our essential being. We are spirits, immortal beings. We will not die, even when the physical body comes to an end as a natural processing. Yes, in the natural laws. And then he goes on, anything that does not proceed from their own minds, which means from their own concepts, their own understandings, which could be more on the reductionist way of addressing ourselves from the biological level, and who address the issue without knowing its cause. So again, if we believe in certain concepts and we may still, through our ignorance, through pride, we may not perceive anything beyond that, or prejudice that we may bring even unconsciously, that will impede us to open up. But that limitation, would we be right in saying that is temporary? Because sooner or later, all of us will understand what Spiritism is bringing. Why? Because what the enlightened spirits are telling us is regarded as the natural laws in the universe. Therefore, every spirit sooner or later will comprehend it. And then he carries on. To this class belongs all those who admit nothing beyond the testimony of their senses. How do we understand that phrase of St. Augustine?
I would say it's people that are materialistic. So they only believe what they can touch, smell, feel, things like that.
Okay, so it's really referring to the physical body, because when he says the senses, the 5 senses, means to the physicality. And of course, the major part of our lives, of our reality, is beyond the 5 senses. Is that making sense? They have seen nothing and want to see nothing, and even less to delve into anything. How do you understand that phrase? Those who don't believe in anything and want to see nothing. They have no desire to change, neither they have willingness to see beyond what they learned so far. Could be through the understanding of, again, from a very reductionist way of living, or through our ignorance, or even through our pride or selfishness, because we think that we have the truth, that what we believe is the truth in the universe. Laziness could also be well said, yes, because when we are very lazy, even to think about something different is a hard work for us to do, isn't it? So it's better just to stay where I am. But that is impossible, although we may choose temporarily, but sooner or later we will need to move on.
Yeah, there's when Kardec talks about the law of progress, they say that they cannot stop the march of progress. They can only delay the progress a little bit, but it will eventually happen.
Correct. We may be good through our adversaries, negating, going against, but the only thing that we do is delaying our own progress, because life will not stop the progress, because I may not choose to follow now, but it will happen around me and also within me, sooner or later. As soon as we choose to open our minds and hearts and to carry on learning, better for every one of us as beings in evolution. Why? Because as more as we understand God's laws which govern the universe, more happier we become. Easier our experience will be. Easy in a sense, not meaning that there will not be challenges there. Easy because we will develop our virtues. And as more virtues we become, easier it will be to go through the evolution process. And then we carry on to the next one. It's still St. Augustine, what he was saying to us. We go through gradually. Did I go through the gradually? Yes. They would even become troubled if they saw things too clearly, afraid of being forced to confess that they have been wrong. If you go gradually, how is that coming to us? What would St. Augustine mean when he said that? They, the spirits, the beings in evolution, who don't believe in anything, who are the adversaries of Spiritism, then he carries on. They would even become troubled if they saw things too clearly, afraid of being forced to confess that they have been wrong. How do we understand that?
I think that could be people that think they are insane when they see something that they not believe, so they start thinking it's something from like a schizophrenia or something like that, because it's not right.
Mm-hmm. Could we also say that they may, probably we also already went through this phase, that we didn't want to see clearly and be negated because we were afraid how our experiences would change if we would accept the new reality. Such as, which kind of examples? That I would need to confess that I was wrong as I get the new knowledge and I evolve more. Which kind of values may we all need to change or be changed already? But imagine those who may not have the understanding as we have. What do they need to be clear of or may be afraid?
To be humble.
To be humble, if I'm a very high position in terms of prideness, not the high position itself, but it's the pride. So learning about the natural laws, I may be afraid that I may lose that position, then be in a humble position. Yes?
You would have to let go of those small quarrels you have.
More what?
The small fights you have.
The small fights. Yes.
Friends, just to have reason.
Correct.
You don't have to learn to forgive.
Precisely. Yes. The honor of forgiving. Precisely. What else? To be benevolent towards those who may harm us, which is also new teaching. when we study about charity, yes, understanding that those who may be with us today, they are not all properties, either parents, children, spouses, they are beings in evolution as us as well, and these kind of more attachments on things and people, which is transitory. Yeah? Then he carries on saying, for them, Spiritism is a fantasy, an insanity, a utopia. It has no real existence, and that is the end of the matter. How do we understand that? How do we understand that part? How do we understand that? For them, Spiritism is a fantasy, an insanity, an utopia.
Because they cannot study Spiritism the same way they study material sciences at any time we want to. Because in Spiritism, we study spirits, so we don't have a spirit available to us 24 hours, 7 days a week. So for this reason, they might say Spiritism is not true.
Precisely, because the focus of the science, the observation would be on matter, and here we are dealing with the spirit, which is a different focus, than merely because it couldn't be seen through the materialistic observation yet. Therefore, we or they could negate it. Yes, but it's not because we don't see it and we cannot evaluate, we cannot observe. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Because we are talking about human science, but the divine science goes beyond, which involves the human science, but goes beyond it. Anything else?
I think it also is just a lack of understanding, because at some point you will be able to study the spirit as well, just because we haven't evolved yet to this point.
Yes, I think we are going towards that direction sooner or later. And I would easily say, although there may be still a huge gap, but we are now closer than ever, if you consider it in the past. We are much closer now. Although it is not recognized scientifically or the official science, but we have a lot of scientists who are already proving it. And that is just a question of time now that it comes through the scientific belief. We have even scientific journals written already by scientists and doctors regarding André Louis' books. I don't know if you saw that. So things are coming gradually, yeah?
And there is also scientific journals written here in the 1800s. There
Yes.
was reading the book from VII, which talks about after-death experience. And there is a lot of journals that was written here.
There's a lot here in London, for those who maybe listen to us, a lot of research in the past, even a lot regarding Spiritism in the past in London, in the UK. Who were the researchers there and then? William Crookes was a scientist who was studied and affirmed the relationship with the spiritual communication, what the Spiritism is bringing. But he wasn't taken seriously. Anybody else from London? There is the Scientific Society, can't remember now how it says, which is the institution here for quite some time, who also does study the reality of the spirit. And sometimes when you go in the meetings, in the huge meetings in Spiritism, we have the Dr. Power that is there as well. Anderson, I don't know if he still is alive, because I think he still is, but he was quite old. They already introduced that in their practices on a professional level. They are helping beings on the spiritual level. And they also study a lot of Spiritism. They have the knowledge of the fundamental books, which is a question of time. Then St. Augustine carries on. There are the unbending disbelievers. Who are those? At their side are those who have only condescended to glance at the subject long enough to ease their conscience in order to be able to say, I wanted to see, but have not seen nothing. They do not understand that it might actually take more than half an hour to observe an entire science. My God, St. Augustine is here, really. What is it trying to communicate to us here?
If you want to understand something, it might take a while. I remember I read a book, one Vieira, and one of the characters in the book said he was studying Introduction to Philosophy for 100 years. So if you really wanted to study and learn something, it might take a while, more than half an hour.
Oh, I see. Well, we study Spiritism, we know that the science of Spiritism, as we are always reminded by the Enlightened Spirit, it takes ages and ages. It's not something on Earth, we take around 8 years, let's say, to study certain fields of knowledge. But when we study the divine science, that's an ongoing journey. Yeah? Anything else here that we saw? No? Can we move on? Then we move on to the next one. Let me go here. Still we are on the subtitle 7 on the conclusion of the Spirit's book, and the words are from St. Augustine. Cynthia, would you like to read it for us?
In the second category are those who know very well what to think of the reality of the phenomena, but nevertheless they oppose them for reasons of personal interest. They know that Spiritism is authentic, but they fear its consequences and attack it as an enemy. In the third category are those who find Spiritist morals essential, that is too severe for their behavior and inclinations. If they were to take Spiritism seriously, it would inconvenience them.
Let's explore it now. We go through gradually. How do we understand the first phrase of this paragraph? We previously were talking about the first category of the adversaries. Here we are referring to the second category of the adversaries, are those who know very well what to think of the reality of the phenomena, but nevertheless they oppose them for reason of personal interest. How can we develop that?
I think these are those who already believe that it's real, but they don't really bother to change.
So what would be then the personal interest that they don't bother to change or believe? What could be the personal? Because it says, then for reasons of personal interest.
Could be attachment to matter.
Attachment to matter?
Things.
Okay. The materiality of understanding life. What else? Would I be right in saying also pride and selfishness, which usually we come back to that reality, because that impedes us as immortal beings to look beyond, either accept what we haven't yet understand. Yes, I know, you're also talking. Yeah. Okay. Are you okay with this first phrase? Yes, they know that Spiritism is authentic, but they fear its consequences and attack it as an enemy. How do we understand that?
I think this fear is about taking responsible for their own acts and thoughts. So when you are aware what you need to do, and you don't want to make change, so you think that's the enemy, so it's better treat as enemy.
So even if I know and understand the Spiritism, but for me, if I don't want to move on now, if I don't want to progress now, if I don't want to evolve now, I may choose to deny it. It's easier for me, isn't it? Can I carry on doing that forever? No? Why not? Don't I have a free will?
Yes.
So, why can I not carry on believing in that way forever?
Because we will progress at some point. We'll have to change our.
But I don't want to progress.
We can do it through love or through pain.
So I was waiting to see that. Even if I, as a mortal being, may choose not to progress, not to evolve through my ignorance, through my pride, through my selfish, the love of God, which is the greatest power in the universe, will help me to guide forward. Because He doesn't want me to be in the ignorance and suffering. Is that making sense? Yeah? And then we carry on here. Where was I? Personal interest. In the third category are those who find the Spiritist morals essential, that is too severe for their behavior and inclinations. If they were to take Spiritism seriously, it would inconvenience them.
Well, I can relate to that.
Okay, in which ways? In which ways? Give examples to us for those who may be studying with us in the Spirit.
So I mean, if we're studying Spiritism, we need to be honest about where we are and how we are in our intentions. And I find Spiritism in itself extremely difficult because it touches on my personal interests. If I have to donate my time is precious for me, and I'm still attached to matter.
Mm-hmm.
If I have to think about the fact that gossiping isn't a good way of interacting with people, I do it still, you know, and I know exactly the consequences of it energetically, spiritually, how bad it can be. The feelings that I cultivate. So I mean, I find it's they put that there in 156 years ago, and we're still talking about this reality now. And I know hundreds of spiritists that feel the same way. But if we don't accept that we feel that way and accept where we are and assume responsibility, then we won't move anywhere because we're pretending and giving excuses. Well, actually, I'm not doing it because I'm busy or because I'm doing this. Well, actually, no, it's because I don't want to where I am spiritually. So it's being, I think at least the honesty part is there. Yeah. But it's difficult because what it will do is it's going to point out all of our flaws. And if I'm prideful, I don't want my flaws to be pointed out. I don't want anybody putting their fingers in my sores and telling me, actually, the reason why you're in this situation is your own responsibility. And that's what Spiritism does. With love, with care, but that's what it does, you know. So that's how to relate to that sentence.
Yes. Anybody else? What kind of other aspects do we have that we may grow temporarily? Although we know what the reality is. It's interesting if you reflect, isn't it? Because we believe that we are immortal beings. We believe that we are beings of love. We believe that we have been created by God with love. We believe that He is guiding our lives forward in our evolution in order for us to free ourselves from suffering. And why do we resist? Is that making sense? Why do we resist to progress, to evolve, if the next step is better than the one where we are in?
Because we find ourselves very comfortable, and wanting to move forward is a scare. And nobody wants to go into the unknown.
Okay, my question would be, you said, because we feel very comfortable, I would agree with you. The question is, in which level do we feel comfortable?
We feel comfortable in that sense. We know it all, and if we have to push forward, we don't know what the feeling will be there in the new situation and scenario.
So could we say that we are comfortable on an ego state of mind, which is our inner child level onwards?
Yeah.
Because what is comfortable from the inner child level onwards or from the egoistic state of mind, actually from a higher perspective seen and perceived, it is not comfortable at all. But we feel comfortable because we got used to that. And that is what we learned, let's say, we conditioned ourselves. Is that making sense? But we are here to progress, to evolve. And you said, I don't know what is the unknown. How do you understand that? Where we go? Is that what you mean?
What the next step is.
What is the next step? What is your understanding what the next step would be?
In terms of, we know that there's bigger, better things, but whether those bigger and better things are going to be good for us is the unknown. So the fear of wanting to step into that is what will hold us back.
For us within Spiritism, well, perhaps you don't know, but I also learned, I started one day, we understand that the future is better than the present. And what awaits us is better because we believe in the law of evolution. We believe in the law of progress. So whatever I learned so far, what I still learn will be better than what I learned and condition myself now. In that perspective, and also when we hear from those who already died, as we say, on the physical level, but are alive and come back and refer to their experiences, we know that life continues and the evolution continues, and as more as we progress, happier we will be, more integrated we will be, different meanings we will give to our experiences in our lives, always for better. We will find internal resources to cope with the challenges that we all have in different levels. As learners, we will cope better because we awake our internal, let's say, virtues or inner potentials. That has an impact on our self-esteem, it increases our confidence, it renews our strength, we understand better why we go through in certain experiences through the law and cause and effect as learners, never to blame ourselves, always to look forward as learners. And that helps us to, let's say, awake the goodness within. Are we okay here so far? Anything else? Where was I? Did I finish it?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we move on to the next one. Danusa, would you like to read it for us, please?
They neither reject nor accept it, but prefer to shut their eyes to it. The first is swayed by pride and presumption, the second by ambition, and the third by selfishness. Of course, since these causes of opposition lack consistency, they must disappear with time. We would seek in vain for a fourth class of antagonists who would base their opposition on evidence that would demonstrate a conscientious and detailed study of the issue. People who discount Spiritism merely deny it. No one has presented a serious and irrefutable demonstration to the contrary.
Let's start as always at the beginning and we go through gradually, then it becomes easy for us to develop our thinking. They neither reject nor accept it, but prefer to shut their eyes to it.
It's easier to close your, basically to blank things out, especially when you know it's going to help you, but you're fearful of whether that help is going to be of benefit. So you basically will always deny the goodness.
So temporarily, because we cannot deny it, according to what we believe, as we are under the law of evolution, guided by the law of the Creator, sooner or later we will surrender ourselves. But temporarily we can reject it, prefer to shut down our eyes. That is important to reflect, because if we shut down our eyes, what do we do with ourselves? If we choose to do that, what are we doing with ourselves? When we shut our eyes towards the reality.
We're trying to,
What?
we're trying to protect ourselves.
We try to protect?
Yeah,
Would we say we are hurting ourselves?
to an extent, yes.
To extent we are. We think we are protecting, but again, as I said previously, we are thinking on the ego level that we are protecting, but we are not doing that, we are harming ourselves. Because sooner or later, every day, every experience which we may not embrace and change for the good of ourselves, that will bring consequences in terms of even energy that we need to deal with. And it becomes heavy, it becomes tense. While when we are renewing ourselves and progress, we are recycling that energy and it becomes easier, lighter from within. Is that making sense? Anybody else? The first one? They first are swayed by pride and presumption. The second by ambition, and the third by selfishness. Oh my God, in which group are we? How do we understand that? How could we reframe it? Yes. How could we reframe it? When St. Augustine is saying the first are swept by pride and presumption. What does it mean, actually?
The first one was the ones that do not accept anything that's not what they believe already. Yeah?
They think there's nothing about them.
Has nothing to do with them? It has nothing to do with them or not beyond what they believe?
Yes.
Not beyond what they believe. So really the pride blinds us. Yes, correct? Because imagine, if it is to think gradually, we are beings in the universe. Earth is one of the planets. There are many other planets. How can we have the final view about life? Is that making sense?
I think especially people who think they are better than others, when they're not see this reality because they don't want to put in a position that we are not so great as we.
We are not who we are. Or we are not who we think we are.
Yes.
Yes, through pride and we think, oh my God, yeah.
So it's, I think that is the main point that you think our planet is the only one of people or.
Is inhabited, is nothing
Yes.
else beyond it.
So.
Limited, isn't it? That's the thing, yes. And then, of course, since these causes of opposition lack consistency, they must disappear with time. How do we understand that? We would seek in vain for a fourth class of antagonists who would base their opposition on evidence that would demonstrate a conscientious and delayed study of the issue. Yes, sorry, detailed, yes. How do you understand that? How is that coming to us?
It's just people who want to prove that it's not the way the Spiritists present the things, the way, the laws of God. So they would try to prove that in any way, as not what we are seeing at the moment in science, but as before, they would prove that only the matters work. So now with a lot of things that going through the science itself, they can see. It's not what we can see, but to go beyond that, and that's quite.
I just wonder hearing you, Barbara, when you said they want to prove. Is it they want to prove, or are we talking about they deny it?
I think they want to prove that Spiritism is wrong.
Yes,
so,
because denying doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
How can I just deny or say it doesn't exist if I haven't studied it? If I still, my mind is driven by research on the matter, when we are talking about beyond the matter. So I need to develop myself that I can perceive things and acknowledge and accept, and therefore research and go into it, what is beyond the matter. Because Spiritism, as a science, the object of the study is the spirit and not the matter.
And in the continuing comment, being the science of the spirit, the difference between the scientific study with matter and spirit is that we repeat the exercises and we'll get very similar results, and we're able to say, okay, well, this is a fact and this isn't, which is our limited view of science, but it's the greatest that we have for now. Whereas spirit doesn't work like that. Spirit works with free will. So it's really easy to create evidence saying, well, actually what you're saying isn't right, isn't real, because look, I went to repeat the exercise that you did and it didn't work for me. So it must all be lies, you know? When in truth, if that argument is coming forward, then there's a belief there. Mm-hmm. There's a belief, but again, we go back to the fear. So instead of just pushing forward onto the unknown like we were discussing, we end up just deciding what's more comfortable with my uncomfortable zone, and let me confirm it to myself that my uncomfortable zone is right. I mean, we really are complex beings, aren't we?
We are not wise, let's say.
Not always, no.
And quite complex, as you said. Still is the complexity is due to our immaturity. And as more as we mature psychologically, emotionally, we sort out our complex aspects, and therefore we simplify our consciousness.
But that's the idea.
Then it becomes easier to understand, because it's not that complex. What is complex are aspects and learnings that we bring on the unconscious level and refer to these studies. But when we now change, as we all will do, simplify our internal inner self according to the natural laws, then it becomes more easy to adjust and accommodate. Is that making sense?
Yeah, because when the spirits of light do speak, it's very simple. They repeat the same things. And they say, okay, well, do you have anything new to tell me? I say, well, you didn't understand the most simple message. How am I going to tell you anything new?
They carry on. You know why they carry on saying the same thing?
Because we don't learn.
Because we are ignorant, we are children. But also, I would be more optimistic, because they love ourselves. They see us as babies, and they insist in believing us, because they believe that we will one day do it. Even Jesus, our Master, he carries on loving us, even if he has rebellious and distorted everything, but he carries on loving, because he knows that one day we will all wake up towards our own selves as beings of goodness and light, and understand the life experience, not only on earth, from a different perspective. We are still quite immature on our emotional intelligence. This is why it's so complex in our psyche. Because we have a lot of knowledge on the intellectual level, but our emotional level is not developed. So we are blocked. We see things halfway through. Yeah? Did we go up to the end? I talk and talk, then I forget. Yes. Where did we finish? Of course, since there is causes of positional yes, I went through this, yes. The last one, people who discount Spiritism merely deny it. No one has presented a serious and irrefutable demonstration to the contrary. Those are the words of St. Augustine. So what do we learn now by them?
That they tried to prove that Spiritism is not the truth, but they couldn't.
So denying Spiritism is not saying that it doesn't exist. That is what St. Augustine is saying, because no one so far could present the opposite. And that is a great lesson for us. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, that the natural laws do not exist, that the universe is really moving and progressing, although I may not believe in it, but it is. Yeah? And in that way, then we move on to the next paragraph. That we carry on. Would you be kind and read for us, please?
It would be presuming too much of human nature to believe that it could suddenly be transformed by Spiritist ideas. Their effect will obviously vary in kind and intensity among those who profess them. Whatever their results may be, even if weak, they will nevertheless represent an improvement. If nothing else, they would provide proof of the existence of an extracorporeal world, which in itself would negate materialist doctrines.
Would you like to comment? How is that coming to you? Oh, how do we understand that? If we start at the beginning again and go through gradually, then it's easy perhaps. It would be presuming too much of human nature to believe that it could suddenly be transformed by Spiritist ideas. What is St. Augustine meaning here?
Every change happens slowly. So even if we read and understand it, we might be willing to change a lot, but this change will happen gradually as we always understand, as we always study it.
My question is, what are the Spiritist ideas?
Reincarnation, as I said before, would be that nothing ends with the death of the material body, materially after death.
The immortality of the soul.
So the purpose of us being here on earth.
Okay, the purpose. Also, another aspect that Spiritism idea is part of that God is love. There's quite a lot we may have learned in the past that God is not love or is vengeful or whatever. Within Spiritism we believe. And Spiritism ideas is not only what we within Spiritism believes, because they are the words of Jesus that brings the good news from God. So it's available to everyone, all of us as brothers and sisters in humanity. Yeah. Their effect will obviously vary in kind and intensity amongst those who profess them. Why? My question would be why? How do we understand it? Their effect will always vary in kind and intensity amongst those who profess them.
Because we're in different levels, even in earth. So we are affected by in different intensity, or even the way we can process the things is different as well. So we can learn and act or not even bother by learning.
So we are all unique beings. Although we are all on the journey of evolution, but we evolved in different degrees, and that makes the difference how we understand it, correct? Whatever the result may be, even if weak, they will nevertheless represent an improvement. Here really St. Augustine is helping us to see the little movements, the little changes, the little efforts that we do in terms of improving, in terms of becoming better, in terms of overcoming our own shadows, our own limitations. They have an impact on our unconscious mind or on our perispirit or the spiritual body, as we say. If nothing else, they would provide proof of the existence of an extracorporeal world, which in itself would negate materialistic doctrines. How do we see the last phrase? If I don't believe in the immortality of the soul, let's imagine that I'm materialistic and I just believe that life is this part which exists here. Is there any point for me to make an effort to change myself for better? Is a question. No, why not? Is there any reason for me to give rid my pride and selfishness? No. Is there any reason for me to even consider to help others? No. What else? Other examples?
Life has no meaning. It's just little time spent in your life.
Correct. So life could be very pure, because if I may not have what I want, I may get depressed, or I may feel disappointed if people don't treat me as I think. I don't like that, and I carry on with my shadows on that. And if I don't get, we look beyond. Everything belongs to God. Therefore, us as children, everything belongs to us too. But we don't need everything. Because we are immortal beings, we come back in a short time period in what exists, and we come back with a package of learning. Which subjects we are addressing this existence. So I don't need everything, but I need the universe will present it to me. And also will help me to understand from a different perspective, so that I can engage with those experiences from a transpersonal perspective. Understanding that I cannot take anyone and anything with me when it comes the time for me to breathe from a physical body. But I can only take myself with myself.
And that's quite powerful. It actually helps to eliminate or to reconstruct jealousy, which is a feeling that spirits say that is worse than any other of our flaws. Because when we keep on looking outside and wanting what is not for us, we're constantly not living our story, and there will always be that emptiness or that feeling of running after something that is not for us. But when we start trying to seek what is my subject in this existence, like you mentioned, I like that phrase, what am I supposed to be learning here, what am I supposed to be learning, then the focus goes onto me and my emotions and how I'm living my life. And if I can be useful around where I am, great, but that feeling of fulfillment comes in, because really reflecting on what is my purpose here, what is it that I'm doing here, regardless of other people's success or lack of,
That is a deep connection within. And then it's a deep connection within on the essence level onwards. Learning to be loyal to us. Because we came already from the spiritual world with a package, let's say, what we would carry out, each one of us. And then learning to go within and be loyal to that, and carrying out that, let's say, task that I came to do, that brings meaning to our lives. That brings fulfillment to our lives, despite if no one follows that. But if I follow what I can do, if each one of us follows, that brings meaning to our lives. That brings meaning to the experiences, but the meaning from the sacred aspect of us.
And it's interesting because it doesn't, I'm putting in my experience, I can only talk about myself, doesn't mean there's certainty. Doesn't mean we're 100% sure and everything's running smoothly, but for some reason there's this peace of mind.
Usually we have to
we're going
feedback.
through our challenges, there's that peace of mind, that confidence that doesn't come from you can't fake it. You either feel
Why
it or
not?
you don't. I don't know, because I've tried to fake it and it doesn't
It
work.
doesn't
And now
work.
I just
We can try. We can try, but we will not do it. Why? Because we are not free as we, in a prideful way, think we are. We are connected with the greatest sense of creation. And it's almost like way or an immature way that I picture it. It's almost like there is someone with a remote control, guiding us. So if I try to go there, he's controlling. It's a question of time. Go back. How do I know that I'm on the wrong track? Feeling. We bring innate or feedback when we are on the wrong track, making inner decisions. Because that means then, once I comprehend, I listen, I can feel myself, now there is the next step that requires me to go to the action level to choose to live in a different way. So that I learn to be loyal to myself in relation to the Creator. That is when, then as a consequence, is when we have the fulfillment. Even if you go through struggles and challenges, which are natural in our lives. But internally we feel lighter.
Really, it's quite intense when you say about that. But before I wouldn't understand, because I think we should take out pride and selfishness, take
it out.
Yeah, and after a lot of study, but especially on Monday, that we go through small steps that we do every day, and we find out that it's a little bit by little bit, and we say, oh, it's just like the example on Monday, the shoes, that is not the way I want, and that make a
Big
big
fuss.
thing in my mind. And if I could do that, it's already a little bit that I can change.
Yes.
And when I try at home and see small things, and I say, oh, if I do that, it's already a big step. So make it much easier than thinking a big picture that I couldn't do now, and make my life easier.
Of course, as long as we bring the Spiritist knowledge to our daily lives to understand what it means, it becomes easier. Pride and selfishness, we cannot eradicate that from us. Why not? Because the principles of passions have been given by God. Therefore, are they positive or negative?
They're neutral.
They are positive. Why? What is the aim? To impulse us to move forward. But what is bad is the excesses that we developed. We developed through our reasoning. But the principle of the vices, pride, selfishness, even vanity, that has been given by God for us to promote ourselves. Imagine if we don't have a bit of vanity, would we take shower? Would we brush our teeth? Paint our hairs? We just, yeah. You see, it's the excesses. And as more as we learn to bring it back close, to digest it as we are doing, then it becomes possible for us to renew ourselves. And the small steps that we do in relation to our self-renewal has a huge impact in our individuality. Is that making sense to us? Yeah? Are we okay here? So then move on to the next one here. Then, Rosa, would you like to start with it?
This is the result of a simple observation of the phenomenon. But among those who comprehend the Spiritist philosophy and see it something more than more or less curious phenomenon, there are other effects. The first and most general is that the developing a religious sentiment, even in those who, without being materialistics, are indifferent to spiritual things. For them, this will result in the loss of the fear of death. We are not saying that they will desire death, far from it. For a spiritist will defend their lives like anyone else, but an indifference towards death enables them to accept its inevitability without complaint or regret as something happy rather than dreadful due to the uncertainty the certainty of the ensuring state.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to comment? What do we learn, what do we take here from St. Augustine's words in this paragraph?
You know, this part here, the only thing that comes to my mind is, I don't remember who the lecturer was, but he turned around because he was combating a lot of people in Brazil who were against Spiritism. And then he turned around and he said to one of these intellects, he said, you show me somebody that managed to stop a suicide with ideas and logic, and I will quit Spiritism for logic. Because what we're doing isn't simply talking from here on. We're talking from here, we're touching hearts. So knowing that and being able to give somebody the sense and value of life and how important the life is and how we're all interconnected and how one person hurting, like it or not, whether I close my eyes or not, we all affected by it. That, I remember the Spirit saying that would be the aim of Spiritism. If that was the only thing it created, that would be the biggest aim.
Mm-hmm.
And so that comes to me, the idea of value of life.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Valuing our lives is the greatest gift given from God to all of us, as we are immortal, as we are loving beings in essence, valuing our lives, our existences. And in that way, we are coming to the end of our study today. In these final moments of grace, of blessings, as learners of ourselves as we all are, ourselves and all of those in the Spirit who are with us, blessed with the vibrations of peace, of harmony. May we all look up and notice the goodness that awaits all of us, as we all are beings essentially of love, destined to progress, to evolve. May we all take that inner resolution to move a step forward, to develop the inner courage, to transcend ourselves, to search for real happiness, to learn to forgive, to learn to understand, to learn to be benevolent, to learn to be indulgent, as we carry on existences. As no one dies, we are all alive forever. May the blessings of the superior being follow upon every and each one of us here, soothing our hearts, soothing our minds, helping us to carry on with hope, with consolation, learning to be better today than we were yesterday, and tomorrow better than today. Be willing to put the efforts into to promote ourselves in goodness, so that we feel happier and more in peace with ourselves and with others, on earth or beyond, as life continues, as immortal beings, as we all are, and with peace in our hearts and minds, we close our meeting today. So be it. Peace to you.